So just like you've seen in today's video, what we are focusing on is why are you a people pleaser? Like, why do you feel so much that you need to please people? So that's what we are going to be focusing on and giving you some ideas or some thoughts that can help you liberate yourself from becoming a people pleaser and therefore doing what you can do best without feeling afraid or feeling as though people are going to look at you badly, or kind of just limiting yourself and consistently betraying yourself, because you know that when you act in a way that is pleasing other people at your own expense, you normally feel that sense of personal betrayal, like you cannot trust yourself again. If this is your first time here, just like I said when I was starting out, my name is Dennis Mboro. I'm the founder of DSM Advisory and Consulting, where we help entrepreneurs with unique ideas or even niche businesses articulate them and package them so that they can sell. Yeah, that's essentially what we focus on at DSM. And the reason why we are talking about these aspects that have to do with personal branding is because you are unique and you need to come out there, you need to package yourself, and ultimately to get the opportunities that you so rightly deserve or you are supposed to get, because that is essentially, yeah, that is in your mold. That's something that you can do without necessarily struggling much. Okay, so let's get to this issue of people pleasing. Like, where does people pleasing start? I'll start with a personal story. So, okay, I was not always the way that, okay, nowadays people see me and they say that, oh, Dennis, you're a content creator. You talk a lot about important stuff, and it looks like you've somehow hacked all these things that regular people tend to struggle with. Now, when it comes to this aspect of people pleasing, this is something that I struggled with quite a lot. When I was in high school, because I remember that is a time that I was exposed to peer pressure proper. I was not the ordinary child in high school. I was always interested in different things, but for some reason, because I was interested in more general knowledge, and I remember there was a time when I was in my third year in high school. That's Form 3 in Kenya. That's like, I don't know what that is in international, in other curriculums, but essentially my third year in high school, there was a trip. There was a school trip. I remember that school trip very well. And the school trip was to go to Nanyuki. Nanyuki is one of the most beautiful places in Kenya, to see some wildlife. Like, there was that trip of going to Nanyuki to see wildlife, then somehow go to Ngong Hills and see the hills over there. It was like a nature trip. And at the same day, there was a trip to go to a girls' school. Now, our class had like 55 people. Yeah, our class had about 55 people. And okay, let me switch camera because this is so important. Our class had about 55 people, and most of the people were going on a trip. And these two trips were happening on the same day, going to the national park or somewhere in Nanyuki and going to a girls' school. Now, me being interested in all aspects of nature, of course today sustainable development is a big thing, but this is high school. Back then, I chose to go to the national park. And when I was asked, like, where are you going? Are you going to the girls' school? I was like, no, I pay to go to a national park. They're like, oh, so my classmates were like, oh my goodness, like, why did you choose to pay to go to a national park? And they are not girls, they're just wildlife. Are you going to, how do you say kukatia? Are you going to, are you going to be smooth talking the wildlife, or you're trying to get in a relationship with wildlife? That is essentially what my classmates asked me. And the whole evening, because I remember that day, that whole evening, everybody in class was teasing me because I chose to go to see monkeys, like they were saying. I chose to go and see monkeys as opposed to going to a girls' school to go and see girls. Now, my frame of thinking at that time was, no. I think this wildlife thing would be more interesting to me, because even when I go and see girls, I'm just seeing them for one time. When I go home, I still see girls. But anyway, that was back then. But with that lashing that happened around that time, I became more quiet. Huh? I started, quote unquote, silencing my voice quite a bit, not talking about the things that I want to do or the things that I have an interest in, and essentially starting to try and conform to the pattern back then, which was not necessarily for me. So it means that even if I liked knowledge, sometimes I had to pretend that I don't like to study, even if I know that there are things that I love to study. When people are talking about vanity subjects, I sometimes would try and find something to contribute so that I can kind of be in sync with guys, but at the same time, they knew that I was not like one of them, so I would end up being teased as a result. This is people pleasing for you, and the impact that it had on me. Now, going to, of course, finishing high school, all of us went our different directions, and I ended up regretting all the things that I did to try and fit in, whereas I was never supposed to fit in. So going to university is where I started this whole journey of, actually, I started, this journey of exploring who I am, and eventually that has led to what I do now. And the reason why there is so much pressure to please people is not even because of the peer pressure. It all starts at home. Like, when you're a child, you are affirmed because you have done something that has made your parent happy, even if you have no understanding why your parent is happy because of what you have done. So your parent is like, oh, good job. That is very nice. Make sure you do this. And over time, like, it becomes programmed in you that you are supposed to do something to make your parent, like your father, your mother, whoever is taking care of you, to be happy, even if you have no understanding why you're doing it. It's just for the purpose of their own personal joy. So this continues until you grow up and you are making serious decisions. And one of the considerations, actually the heaviest consideration you have when you're making a serious decision, is this decision going to make my guardian or someone who is taking care of me happy? That is essentially how you look at it. And even if you have a better decision that you can make that you think is going to offend them, you choose to forego that and choose something that is necessarily not even going to work for the purpose of making them happy. Then eventually you realize that somehow you are by yourself and you're the one who's supposed to make sense of your own life, and ultimately you become frustrated. But because this aspect of pleasing people has already been ingrained in you from the time that you're small, growing up and becoming an adult, this figure of authority changes from being your parent or your guardian to now your boss, to becoming your colleagues, to essentially the people that you think you're supposed to listen to are people that you're supposed to make decisions to make them happy. Now, that used to work when you were a child because somehow you'd get some kind of affirmation, but when you're an adult, you notice that sometimes, especially if you want to grow and become like a senior person, you need to be able to take leadership. You need to be able to make decisions by yourself, and you're not looking to anybody else for affirmation. You just need to have that sense of self-assurance, and that is very hard to do because of this whole programming that has been there. So what this results to is kind of staying stuck at the same place and trying to find affirmation in other people or maybe in your social circles, because now the work thing cannot necessarily work. And if you try and now that is something that they also experience and they struggle with, you all tend to move at kind of a snail pace, all of you, and you kind of start celebrating those things that otherwise you're not supposed to celebrate. Oh, you know what? I was afraid to do this. I had planned to do this and I failed. Then somehow it becomes you are kind of happy in your own community of people who are suffering the same things. Now, unfortunately, deep down in your heart, there is something that is calling you to do something more with your life, maybe to start a business. You've started getting glimpses of maybe the way you're living right now is not compatible with who you want to become eventually. But there is this whole programming that has been put there that has led to you creating a whole social system around an identity that is never going to work for you. So what happens is that anytime you think of making a decision without like a secondary affirmation, it is something that you shoot down yourself. And even if you were to try it, because you have already created a certain identity, then everybody around you asks, yeah, what are you trying to do? Are you sure you're going to succeed in this? But they are not responding to you. They are responding to their own insecurities, and seeing you trying to break out becomes